Welcome back, AHS. I'm Mackenzie Britton.
And I'm Bridget Sloan.
And this is
The Res.
This week is all about the Earth.
Earth Day is an annual event celebrated on April 22nd.
Various events are held all around the world to demonstrate support for the environmental protection.
First celebrated in 1970, Earth Day now includes events in more than 193 countries, which are now coordinated globally by the Earth Day Network.
The Earth Day Network works year-round to solve climate changes, end plastic pollution, protect endangered species, and broaden the environmental movement across the globe.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of sweating.
Speaking of sweating, hey Zacy, how are Indian athletes doing?
Let's find out in this week's Res Sports.
He may be the greatest athlete of all time. There is mustard on the lettuce.
Softball had a game last Tuesday here at home against Midlothian Heritage. Let's see some highlights. They won 10-0. Way to go, girls. Baseball also had a game last Tuesday here at home against Waxahachie Life. They won 6-0. Great job, guys. Softball had a game last Friday here at home against Waxahachie Life. They won 16-0. Great job, girls. Baseball also had a game last Friday against Waxahachie Life. Sadly, they lost 3-0. This Tuesday, softball had a game at and against Venus. Sadly, they lost 3-2. Baseball also had a game at and against Venus. Let's see how they did. They won 4-1. Way to go, guys. Today, baseball has another game against Venus here at home, so go and wish them luck. Both boys and girls golf finished their golf season with the boys placing second in district and the girls placing third. The boys team, Ty Connor, Grayson Fuller, Chevy Hendricks, Hagen McGee, and Jacob Wall advanced to the regional golf tournament in Huntsville next week, along with Chandler Clay and the girls medalists. Good luck to golf and to Coach Isclaw. That's all for this week's Res Sports. Now back to you guys.
Our Earth is going through many environmental changes, not all of them good.
In the past 10,000 years, we've been degrading land and freshwater systems, emitting greenhouse gases, and releasing vast amounts of agricultural chemicals into the environment.
Carbon dioxide levels are at a historic high, while loss of biosphere integrity is resulting in species becoming extinct at a rate more than 100 times faster than the previous norm.
The amount of nitrogen entering the oceans has quadrupled.
All of these changes are shifting Earth into a new state that is becoming less favorable to the human life.
India is home to the most polluted river, the Ganges, severely polluted with human waste, industrial contaminants, and the river provides water to about 40% of India's population.
Air pollution in China is so horrific that man was able to vacuum up particles in the air and turn them into bricks. Hey, Sophia, didn't you go around asking how we can help the Earth?
I sure did. This week, I went around asking you guys how we can make the environment better. This is what you had to say.
How can we help improve the Earth?
Recycling.
Buy more milk.
Buy more milk.
Buy more milk.
Use metal straws. Have a Hunger Games once a year. We're going to take a child from every country.
All right, at the local Home Depot, you're able to get any color paint you want, right? And you're trying to make theirs green, right? So you just go to the paint section, right? And you grab some green paint, right? You just cover the earth in green.
Recycling. NBC News.
No, say something funny.
Yeah.
Save the dolphins.
By being nice.
Fire and flames and spikes everywhere.
Even more pollution. Used to stop reading.
Those are some great answers. If I had to help the environment, I would ride my bike everywhere. See you later, alligator.
Just in the last 650,000 years, there have been 7 cycles of glacial advance and retreat.
The abrupt end of the last ice age about 7,000 years ago has marked the beginning of the modern climate era. Global warming is a long-term rise in the average temperature of the Earth's climate.
Although it is seen as controversial.
Ongoing events include rising sea levels due to the thermal expansion and melting glaciers and ice sheets.
Don't we have an environmental enthusiast talking about the causes and effects of global warming this week on Masterpiece Theater?
Let's take a look.
Masterpiece Theater presents Franklin's Factual Rant, where Franklin informs you about the crisis called global warming. Here he be.
Hi, I'm Mr. Franklin, and welcome to this week's Masterpiece Theater. They told me to come and talk about global warming, so I'm going to talk about the science behind global warming. So global warming is when there's greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, everybody knows that one, methane, even water vapor. Water vapor is actually quite a powerful greenhouse gas. The way those greenhouse gases work is that they let regular light through, and then that regular light gets turned into heat. So it's visible light that comes through, then it's infrared light that comes out. The gases don't let infrared light through. So when they come up and they hit the carbon dioxide or the water vapor or whatever, the infrared light, the heat, bounces back down and it's trapped. So that's the science behind greenhouse gases. Since the Industrial Revolution began, we're producing so much more carbon dioxide that it's building up into levels that have never been seen, even going back 5,000, 100,000 years in the atmosphere. There's never been that much carbon dioxide. So with that much of a greenhouse gas, it has been causing warming a little bit. They're worried that it's going to cause much more warming. The sea level has risen a little bit, and what they're concerned about with that is not only is it going to affect animals' habitats, but it's going to affect our habitats. It's going to cause trillions of dollars of damage to the coastlines and to cities that are located on the coast. And it's a huge deal. There's a couple of cities worldwide that have tried to relocate, and it's just really, really expensive, and it's a bad deal. That's all I've got. Thanks for listening to Masterpiece Theater.
That's all from Franklin today. Don't forget to listen in next time to learn some more amazing facts. Did you know that the magnetic poles are moving closer together right before they eventually switch places? And right now, the magnetic field is weakening by about 5% every 10 years before they finally switch.
As a matter of geological record, the Earth's magnetic fields have undergone numerous reversals of polarity.
We can see this in the magnetic patterns found in volcanic rocks.
In the last 10 million years, there have been, on average, 4 or 5 reversals per million years.
Here's Indian interview time.
They were singing, my, it's Indian interview time, where we interview some Indians and have a good time. So sit back and watch this interview time, 'cause it's Indian interview time, Indian interview time.
Welcome back, AHS, to this week's Indian Interview Time. My name is Zach Rafatoshik, and today I have with me Dirt. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
Well, I'm like 3.9 billion years old, but I can also be 200 years old, so it kind of fluctuates.
So you're probably, no matter what, you're older than I am. So could you tell me, like, how is dirt formed exactly?
Rock, sand, clay, and organic matter.
Okay, see, I'm not a scientist, so could you, like, explain that in, like, layman's terms? Because, like, I'm not very smart.
The rocks get weathered away, leaving behind a fine dust that mixes with the fecal matter from decomposers who have eaten organisms such as flowers and animals.
So if that's the case, why is dirt different colors? Because, like, you're more of a darkish brown, but there's, like, red dirt, there's, like,
It's because of your geographical location and what kind of organic matters are in the soil. Depending on where you are depends on what rocks under the soil and what minerals are under it.
What kind of minerals make different colors? Is it like gravel or like just...
Yellow or red soil indicates the presence of oxidized ferric iron oxides. Dark brown or black color in the soil indicates the soil has a high organic matter content, and wet soil will appear darker than dry soil.
Speaking of wet soil, it's rained a lot the past couple of weeks, you know, always on the weekends for some reason. It really wrecks my Saturdays. But why, what does being mud feel like?
I love swimming! Mud is whenever it rains on me, or any kind of dirt. It gets absorbed. Sand's not very good at being absorbed, and water just drips through it. However, clay can absorb lots of water without letting out any.
plants need water, but they don't drink water like humans. So how do they get water out of like the ground and like dirt like you?
They use their roots to absorb the water from me, and then it's up to the plants. I just store the roots to give them shelter.
Sort of like some general like misconceptions or people that have about you. There's people like just don't know about it.
There's over 70,000 different types of meat, and the tablespoon of meat has more organisms than there are people on the earth.
I hope you guys learned a lot about dirt from this, and it's very informative Indian interview time. I know I did. So, that's all for this week, AHS. I'm Zachariah Fatashik, and this is Dirt! We'll see you guys next week.
I love the CTVA. Let's wake up for reading.
Hey AHS, I'm Corey Beelan, and good job on finishing those CTVAs, but we've got another week, raising our literacy rates. So, since the theme this week is Earth Day, I brought some books that have something to do with the Earth. The first book we have here is The Plant Cycle. This book explains in great detail on how the plant cycle works whenever they take in CO2 and create oxygen and photosynthesize and crazy things that plants do. And the other book we have is In Touch with Nature, Butterflies and Moths. So, this book explains how important butterflies and moths are to our ecosystems and how to catch them with a net. Now those books are great and all, but do you know what's even better? Whenever publishers use recycled paper to make books, this lets us read even more and keeps our earth clean. Well, that's all for this week, AHS. Have a great day.
On the very first Earth Day, 20 million people gathered in the streets of America to protest the Industrial Revolution.
Now men, women, and children collect garbage, plant trees, clean up coral reefs, show movies, sign petitions, and plan for a better future for our planet.
Did you know that during an Earth Day celebration in 2011, 28 million trees were planted in Afghanistan by the Earth Day Network?
Wow, that's amazing.
Speaking of amazing, it's time in which we highlight the skilled,
the funny,
the silly,
and the talented.
It's time for this week's
Shenanigans!
Hey guys, Mr. Neary here, and as I'm working here in my fish room, I want to talk a bit about Earth Day and some of the things that we've learned to help preserve the resources that we have. One of them, as we know, is we need water. Now, there are ways to go and use up water in a more efficient way when it comes to farming and growing livestock. And one of those ways is aquaponics.
Aquaponics is the combination of hydroponics and aquaculture. Hydroponics is your agriculture that's grown in a soilless method. Aquaculture is the raising of any fish for food or the ornamental industry. Aquaponics, when combined with the two, uses 90% less water than traditional farming. 70% of fresh water available for human consumption is used in traditional agriculture. Using aquaponics, we can be much more efficient in using the precious water that we have. Aquaponics provides sustainability. With traditional agriculture, one has to worry about how much nutrients is in the actual ground. With aquaponics, all of the nutrients comes from the fish. You can also have a higher yield using a smaller footprint. Finally, when it comes to water conservation, aquaponics is unrivaled. I incorporate aquaponics as I filter the water for my fish. In normal aquaculture, you would have to change a percentage of your water every week in order to keep your water healthy for the fish. Using aquaponics, the plants will filter the water for the fish. Here you see my plants and a grow bed. As I come over, I'm going to show you how a bell siphon works. Here I lift up the bell, and what this system does is it makes it so that my grow bed drains and fills all day long. You can see in there the PVC pipe. The water will get to that level, and then it will create a siphon, and then it will drain down, and it will break the siphon at the bottom of the notches of that bell that I just put back in. That is the grow bed. In the grow bed, I have various plants. I've also grown tomatoes and cucumbers using the same method. Here's the sump in which I have a pump that pumps the water out into the tanks that I have plumbed together. You can follow the PVC as the water comes over, and then that water goes to an upper level of tanks. we'll take a look at my 40 breeder here, and on the back I have a filter. You can see the water flowing in to the filter. And that is flowing in from the sump. That is filtered water that the plants have filtered. Here are the fish that are benefiting from aquaponics. The water then goes from the first level down to the second level, where I'm growing more fish and plants. Then the water is carried over to a gutter. Here you see the water coming out from the tanks on the right, and the water flows all the way back into the sump. That water pump is also pumping water into the grow bed. Here are more fish that I have that are benefiting from this aquaponic system, in which I am using less water, and I'm using plants to filter the water for all of these ornamental aquarium fish. So we look right here at the whole system, and here are 2 more tanks in which I'm breeding more fish. Rainbow fish and crebenses, and you can see a lot of fish in this tank from South America and different parts of Asia, like angelfish, cardinal tetras, neon tetras, denison barbs, and then a lot of live plants. The water from those 2 tanks are flowing right back in. So there's constant flow happening from the tanks back into the grow bed. So the fish are benefiting from always getting filtered water, and the plants are benefiting by always being fed the nutrients that the fish are providing them. Because all that fish waste is just more nutrients, more fertilizer for the plants. I have 2 systems in my sunroom. Here's some tanks in the second system. I'm also utilizing ivy that is also filtering water and taking out nutrients from the water. And here you see the grow bed and another sump on this side of the fish room. So aquaponics is just one way in which we can go and help preserve the resources and be more efficient with what we have. Keep that in mind this Earth Day.
Now a word from our sponsor, Tribal Tees.
For all your shirts,
hoodies,
senior pictures,
and graphic design needs,
see Tribal Tees.
Come join the tribe. And now for our other sponsor, Classic Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC of Cleburne.
Dad, I think she wants us to follow her. Classic Zoe.
Classic Chevrolet Buick GMC of Cleburne. Relax and enjoy the difference. Zoe can show you the way.
It's time for this week's journal announcements.
If you're interested in taking driver's ed, you can sign up in the front office.
Don't forget, we have 4-day weekend. That's all for this week, AHS. Keep that purple pride alive, and until next time, I'm Mackenzie Britton.
And I'm Bridget Sloan.
And this has been The Reds Earth Day. Make that a one shot.
There have been just. Hey.